Call the Board of Supervisors into session. It's 5:30 for the Monday meeting, July 25th, 2022. We'll start the meeting with public comments. At this time, anyone may address the board on matters of which are on the agenda. Please go to the podium, state your name and home address. Individuals wishing to comment on a public hearing will be given the opportunity during that respective hearing. Individual remarks are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone in chambers wishing to address the board? Seeing no one in chambers, do we have anyone on line, Kevin?
We do not.
All right, we'll move forward. Proclamations. There are no proclamations for approval at this meeting. Next, we go to the approval of the minutes of the meeting of July 18th, 2022.
Motion to approve.
And I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Aye. We have 2 consent items, a Class B beer permit for Key West Fire and EMS, and a Class LC liquor license for Dubuque Elks Lodge, number 297. I believe we can take them both as one, or would we want them separate?
You can take them both as one, please.
And I will make a motion to approve the consent items for Key West Fire EMS and the Dubuque Elks Lodge number 297.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Class B beer permit for Key West Fire and EMS and the Class LC liquor license for Dubuque Elks Lodge number 297. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Aye. There are no procurement procedures for approval at this meeting. Public hearings. We have a notice of a public hearing for amendments to the zoning ordinance.
Motion to table.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to table. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Aye. That will be tabled for further review discussion. We'll go to the approval of plats. We have a resolution to approve the final plat of Wildfire Ridge subdivision number 4. Any questions? We have Mr. Gantz present.
And I'm here. I can read this in for you, Supervisor.
Okay, go ahead, Tammy. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. No problem. The property is owned by Vendors Unlimited Corporation, is located adjacent to the city of Sageville along Chicory Street with a total of 16.024 acres surveyed. This property is both in the city of Sageville and Dubuque County, and where it's in Dubuque County, it's zoned R2 single family residential. The purpose of the plat is to create an 11-lot residential subdivision. The survey creates 11 lots. Lot 1 through lot 11 are all a minimum of 1 acre in size and will be sold for residential homes. The above described property is partially within the limits of the city of Sageville, with the remainder located within Dubuque County and the R2 single family residential district, thus subject to all the requirements of that district. Vendors Unlimited Corporation and the city of Dubuque have signed an agreement for the water service to all 11 lots. The Dubuque Water Stormwater Ordinance requirements will be followed throughout the entire subdivision. All lots, including the lots that fall in the city of Sageville. A stormwater detention basin will be installed in between lots 5 and 6 that addresses the post-construction stormwater rate control. All lots 1 through 11 will follow soil quality restoration requirements as identified in the final plat and subdivision covenants. The developer will be responsible to ensure both the detention basin and all of the future lot owners must comply with the SQR requirements. If any lots are found non-compliant with the SQR requirements, building permits will be halted until all of the lots are in compliance with the SQR. The property owners will have provided declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions that will be handled by Wildflower Ridge Subdivision Number 4, the Homeowners Association, Inc. Lots 1 through 11 have all residential entrances off of Dayflower Street, and there were no additions or corrections required for the plat, and there are no mortgages on the property, and some of the signatures were 60 days old, and it was the surveyor, May 11th of 2022. This plat's been reviewed by myself as plats officer. It has all the required signatures, and I respectfully recommend approval. So this is a plat. You wouldn't have seen a preliminary on this because this was one that was done years ago, and they're doing another stage of their subdivision. And I know that Mr. Gantz is there to represent. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions, Ann?
I do not. I was on the zoning board meeting, so I appreciate you being present again.
Okay.
Okay, any questions or comments?
No questions for Tammy. I would be interested since Mr. Gantz is here, is just generally their development plan and time frame and schedule and anything that they need assistance with.
You step up to the mic, Jim. Sorry, it's hard to hear you without that.
Yeah, Michael Gantz, 17222 Chicory Street, Dubuque, Iowa. It's just a continuation of the subdivision that we've been working on since the early 2000s. The plan is to get moving as quick as possible and have some of the lots ready to be sold yet this fall. There's quite a bit of demand up in that area, so.
All right, there's a lot of soil quality issues that have to be complied with, but I trust that
Yep.
that will be taken care of. You understand the issues with the water from where your businesses are, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's be a low-lying area just below you.
Yeah.
You guys don't want to buy Sharky's property, do you?
No.
Run it out, see if we can get a
Yeah, the
one
driving range is for sale too.
lower on the list. But
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Appreciate you being
Thank you.
here.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the final plat of Wildflower Ridge subdivision number 4.
And I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the final plat of Wildflower Ridge subdivision number 4. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Aye. Move on to action items. Resolution to approve the hiring of deputies, assistants, and clerks.
And one question on that, that looks like that is the newer rates for some of the CNAs, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, they look much more in line to current industry standards and for the value of the work as well. So I will make a motion to approve the resolution of the hiring.
I'll second just with comment. They are noting that they're getting applications. Some of these dates are quite old when the positions were posted. So our new wages appear to be drawing interest. So that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. That's right. Have a motion and a second to approve the resolution for the hiring of deputies, assistants, and clerks. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Aye. Next, we have a resolution to approve the Rctp agreement with the city of Richardsville for the James Road pavement resurfacing project. And that is in the amount of $20,000.
I don't have any questions. I'll make a motion to approve.
And I will second that.
Have a motion and a second to approve the Rctp agreement with the city of Richardsville for the James Road pavement resurfacing project. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Aye. Next, we have a resolution to approve the fiscal year 23 lease for Mhds office space with Dubuque Idea Campus LLC. I believe the changes were made that were
The items underneath the terms were changed to reflect that it's just a one-year lease.
Here's the third time as a charm. I will make a motion to approve the office lease.
Second.
have a motion and a second to approve the fiscal year 23 lease for MHDS office space with Dubuque Ideal Campus LLC. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Aye. Next, we have a resolution to approve certain FY 2023 purchase of service projects. One for Rvap Dubuque County through Unity Point, and then Habitat for Humanity at Dubuque and Jackson counties for home build in rural Dubuque County for $10,000. Ed, you have.
I would say that the Unity Point application was left off last week's resolution in error, my error, clerical error. The only project that you approved at your meeting last week was actually the one for Habitat for Humanity. So that's the reason that there are two on here, my error.
Okay.
Good discussion at the mayor's meeting about the interest, and you were there about the Habitat for Humanity. I don't know if you wanted to share any remarks about that.
I'll be there was some great discussion about not only development opportunities and issues that those communities were having related to infrastructure or infill lots. Habitat for Humanity doing a single house might fit with some infill lots that the city or a community member may have. So we talked about that. That was a big discussion point, as well as the Matt Speck from ECIA was there, and there was a discussion about the lead paint remediation program that they currently have and that they're trying to reapply for. So there was some keen interest in that and some of the implications that that has for a variety of those communities. So along with the pocket neighborhood that ECI developed with some partners in Macokota, and if that was a replicable thing. So there was some great discussion, and mashed potatoes and gravy.
Thank you, Ed.
Make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2023 purchase of service projects, the two that are identified.
I will second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of service grants for Unity Point and Habitat for Humanity for fiscal year 23. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Aye. Next, we have a resolution, same resolution to approve partial awards.
Supervisor Potoff, this is Ed Raber again. The reason that there appear to be two of these is we're working to help create some space between these. The projects that you just approved by resolution were for the competitive purchase of service program, the $600,000 one. And myself and my colleagues, the auditor, the budget director, and Megan Bonnard, as we discussed how to approach the projects that you set aside from that list of purchase of service applications, but directed them toward what had been resources coming to the county because of the American Rescue Plan Act, but will likely be actually funded through county funds through a purchase of service agreement. We're just trying to create some space. This is still going to be developed with a purchase of service agreement, but these are those ARPA projects that you set aside last week and approved. That
will be swap funds.
they essentially, thank you. It's catching on, Kevin. So what just as we look for a way to name these something that isn't ARPA, because it's not ARPA, is swap funds, similar to the way county engineer might talk about how federal funds, they swap them with the DOT for state funds that are easier to administer. So essentially these are swap funds. The budget director, as we consult with our auditors and things, said, don't put too much nomenclature in here. You're just calling it purchase of service. We will continue to list them separately and other things, but this just represents how we will contract with these, but it's going to come out of that resources that are probably available because of the American Rescue Plan.
Okay.
I would have liked to have a little language in there related to references on the municipal projects related to ARPA and because of available funding, if my colleagues agree. And I think the reason is, I don't believe we want every year purchase of service applications from all 21 cities for infrastructure projects, do we?
I don't believe so.
And so, if you don't have any context, if you don't go back to the recording of this conversation, you'll just look at this and say, hey, you funded purchase of service projects for upgrades in the past.
But it technically is ARP funds.
Yeah, just the language doesn't say anything about that in this resolution.
We actually looked at this through the lens of our external auditors, and this is under their guidance. And truthfully, when we look at the lost revenue for $10 million and we take that out of the equation, those funds become county general funds and they are no longer ARPA dollars. There may be other ways that we can attribute these programs to ARPA, but in an official capacity where resolutions are concerned and where contracts are concerned, in order to stay above board with our auditors, they actually recommended that we do in fact remove any reference to the ARPA from these documents.
further though, just to make sure that I'm understanding you, Supervisor Wickham, I think what you're saying is you're not looking for this to necessarily be the precedent that you're hoping to set for, say, next year or future years in this particular program, any of the purchase of service things.
Yeah, I think, certainly it's the precedence, but it's also, just the fact that, generally the county doesn't get involved in other city municipal infrastructure projects because there's too many of them and probably too costly. And they have their own taxing and their own enterprise service accounts to draw from to do that. And so there's no reference to that. It just appears if you look at this document, we're funding municipal infrastructure projects. And so I believe the board is only funding these because we received a boatload of money from the federal government recently.
While that is true, and that's
Can't put the
absolutely
boatload of
correct.
money contract.
If we put ARPA in these documents, we run the risk of somebody interpreting that as that they should be subrecipients
Can't
and
do
required
boatload of
to.
money we received
We could put
recently, and that's the
boatload of
only
money,
reason we're
yes.
doing this.
Yeah.
Please don't apply in future years.
And I think part of this, I believe there was a conversation about large paper checks. And we could certainly attribute those with ARPA wordage, but for the official documentation,
All right.
it's the recommendation of the auditors and the auditor's office to leave.
Sounds good.
Also-
Once again, you ruin all
There's-
the fun.
There is another way. I share Supervisors Wickham's concern about this, and it's another concern that I have that has been repeated throughout my term, which is if we don't have a memo or something in the resolution, I understand your hesitancy about the resolution, something in the file to document the why we're going to be going through this next, even if it's in January, and about purchase of services, and this will come up with three recollections, at least three. So is there a way for us to just take this time to mark that that was the rationale so that it also fits the standard? I think it gives us the way to articulate it to the mayors who may believe there's a new funding mechanism that's been offered to them, and that isn't the case on municipal projects.
I can't type that up right now. If whatever your pleasure is, though, my response would have been at the time that the county, if the Board of Supervisors this winter during budget session decides to budget more funding for that and set a window for soliciting applications from the community around the county, and wanted to restrict that to not governmental entities, that we would just incorporate that into the application at that time.
As I was thinking next year, I mean, the application basically states that it can't be used for infrastructure
Right.
for small towns that have their, we did it this year because of the ARP, but we're not
Right.
doing it next year.
Certainly, as the board has discussed, setting priorities or other things, sometimes a process like this is helpful to identify what you don't want to do as much as trying to identify what you do want to do. So we certainly have noted that internally as staff, that is where we're headed for that. If you'd like any other documentation to go along with this, we'll do
I'd
whatever
like
you
to,
like.
I propose a motion to table, bring it back next week with a supporting memo that memorializes the discussion. Simple, should be, and then it's there.
Not a problem. I can do that.
I would think if we just called it purchase of service swap, kind of a,
I will
it's
second
not the
that
purchase
motion
of
to table.
service, it's a purchase of service swap, and everybody's gonna know where the swap was.
And again, just to make sure that the purchase of service is really just the contractual methodology that you're using. We're giving them some other names here, but that it's going to be a local county contract for these things and not some
Right,
sort of
right.
external federally guided contract. That's just fine. That's the reason that we separated the two, as opposed to putting those other previous two projects and these together. They are likely going to come out of some different pots of funds, even though they're both county. So that's fine with me. I can bring that back.
Second to the motion.
Yes, I did second the motion. Yep, the table.
Did you second?
I did, yes.
We have a motion and a second to table. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Ed. Move on to communications. City of Dubuque amended and restated Dubuque Industrial Center Economic Development District Urban Renewal Area Plan version 2022.2. We do all these at
You
once.
can receive and file in one fell swoop.
Okay. Keep going. The City of Dubuque amended and restated Dubuque Industrial Center Economic Development District Urban Renewal Area Plan version 2022.3. City of Sageville annexation, Kevin and Donna Schmidt. City of Sageville annexation, Ehrlich Properties LLC. City of Sageville annexation, Alice Locker, Jason and Molly Locker, John and Carla Scherf, in Dubuque County. Questions on any of those?
Make a note that the mayor of Sageville had sent me a text about this, and this will increase the population of Sageville by 10%.
Is Wayne on? Did he want to speak towards this or?
Sure, just wanted to thank the Board of Supervisors for cooperation with these 100% volunteer annexations that were applied for. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Wayne.
Bet. I will make a motion to receive and file all of the communication documents.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to receive and file all of the documentation. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Aye. Carries. Next, we have appointments, open vacancies for information only.
May I make a comment?
Go right ahead.
So we have 2 open vacancies on the Board of Health, and they asked at the meeting that they had last Wednesday night, they'd like to have, I think they're gonna write to Kevin, but you may be gone, to add, to do an announcement. They'd like to fill that sooner than the quarter. Maybe they've already reached out to you, Ed, I don't know, but. Right.
And our office is covering all boards and commissions.
Yes.
So at any point, we can get those 2 appointed sooner than the next quarter. I don't think there'd be a problem with that.
Right.
They had specifically asked that we just send out a press release and again, do that search through all the communities.
To open up the application process, you mean, yeah.
For the Board of Health.
Right, just for the Board of Health, yeah. Not an issue. And I understand they need to get their people on staff. I mean, that's, gotta keep that moving forward. They have a lot going on. Any other questions or
Nope, no
discussion?
comments.
Okay.
Questions? Yep.
Personnel requisitions. There are no personnel requisitions for approval at this meeting. We'll go to public comments. This time, anyone may address the board on matters of which are of concern to that person and which are not agenda items. Please go to the podium, state your name and home address. Please be aware that the board is limited in their ability to respond to such inquiries, and Iowa Code prohibits the board from deliberating or acting on items not appearing on the agenda. Individual remarks are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone wishing to address the board? We have no one in chambers. Do we have anyone online?
We do not.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
And I appreciate you tracking down that